Hi, Talya. Welcome to GPJFF and Conversation. It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's absolutely our pleasure to have you here. I'm very excited to talk to you about your new film, HONEYMOOD. And for those out there who are watching who are not familiar with your work, aside from giving everyone a homework assignment to go out and watch your first feature film, Zero Motivation, I'd like to talk about the success of that film because it's kind of a very uncanny and unique success. Talya's first feature film played at our festival 6 years ago, just after having won 2 prestigious awards at Tribeca, Best Narrative Feature and the Nora Ephron Prize. In addition to being nominated for 12 Ophir Awards, the film to this day is one of the most watched films in Israel, opening a portal into the everyday lives of young female IDF soldiers stationed to do office work during their 2 years of mandatory service. Zero Motivation explores the disparity between its central characters' dreams and ambitions and the tedium these young women experienced while serving their country. Though on its surface, HONEYMOOD seems to be about a pair of newlyweds and their wild night in Jerusalem. Much like Zero Motivation, the film's true aspiration is to deconstruct a widely accepted fairy tale and reveal the less than perfect, but much more honest reality which lies beneath. Talya, I'd like to begin with your inspiration for HONEYMOOD. How did you come up with your idea?
HONEYMOOD started as a short story that I wrote while living in Jerusalem as a student.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it when I was in a period in life when questions about marriage and commitment start to occupy your mind. And in romantic comedies, marriage is always presented as the solution to all problems. It made me wonder what happens after the happy ending. Through the characters of bride and groom, I found a way to envision this.
Mm-hmm.
And the adventures are their way to process their fears and second thoughts and turn them into a story, their marriage story.
עד למיטה. מההתחלה.
ככה גם לא? אה? אוקיי.
די, די.
זה היה להם מפתח?
נו. כרטיס שחור כזה, נכון?
כן.
מה זה?
Do you feel like when you began working on your script, was there something particular that you hoped that you discover through Eleanor and Noam's misadventures in HONEYMOOD?
You want to write about your thoughts and fears and wishes, and then the time goes by, and then you realize that it was something else that you were worried about. So it's like it's not that I can point out on one thing that I wanted to realize, and that it's the thing that we will never really figure out.
So Talya, you have a real gift for writing comedy. Who are some of your comedic influences?
Well, first, thank you. Okay, is it still okay to say that I was very inspired by Woody Allen?
I think it's okay. I mean, his new movie was banned in Philadelphia for a long time, but now it's back in the theaters. So I think it's
really
okay. Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen the last film, but my like many films inspired me in doing HONEYMOOD, but in particular Woody Allen's Broadway Danny Rose and Husbands and Wives were a big inspiration for me.
The funniest Danny Rose story is the time he's handling a hypnotist. Okay, and he's got the guy, a hypnotist, and he's got the guy working the Catskill Mountains, and the guy the hypnotist brings up this little old Jewish lady, and he hypnotizes her.
Tessie, wees mir, was ist getan zu meinem
The body is warm. You see, it's a good sign. The body is
Ja, aber
warm.
sie hat doch gestorben, sie schläft doch. Tessie, Tessie.
I promise you, if your wife never wakes up again, I promise you I will take you to any restaurant of your choice.
Wir steigen in ein Restaurant, aber ich will mal Weib zu
Do you like Chinese food? Do you like
Ich
Chinese
will
food?
nicht gut.
I love the Coen Brothers films, and also Fellini. Like, it's not like a direct inspiration, but it's bigger than that. It's like a cinematic biggest inspiration.
Oh, hello. Marcello, where are you? Where did it go for that milk? My goodness. Marcello, come here. Hurry up.
Can you share some insight into your writing process? How do you know when something you've written is truly funny and fresh? Do you test out your ideas on friends, family, other filmmakers?
Well, sometimes I let friends read my script, but usually the first real opportunity to hear my lines is in the auditions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's when you see for the first time which dialogues work better and which may still need some tweaking. So it's like when I'm writing, I run the text in my head, imagine how it would be like on screen, and I usually trust my writing when I'm filming. But I rewrite a lot.
And do you sometimes go back to earlier drafts and pick out things that you thought were terrible at the time, but actually they made it into the film later on?
Yeah, definitely, yes. I'm very, how do you say it when you're like obsessive of the order of the things? I never delete anything. I save all the drafts so I can, for the chance that I may need to do what you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. And do you start off your process by storyboarding, or do you start just by fleshing out some ideas? Like, are you more of a visual person, or do you start with the writing and then storyboard?
Well, it's different for every project and for every scene. It's different. I'm both. I mean, I'm also it's can be inspired by images,
Mm-hmm.
but also by words.
How many hours do you spend on writing and reworking scenes? Like, are you a perfectionist when it comes to comedy? I mean, because timing is everything, like, do you have every detail figured out before arriving on the set? Or is your directing style, more fluid and, you let happy accidents happen, you let in the collaboration of your actors? I'm kind of just interested in your directing style.
Well, so first, I always prefer scripted dialogues,
Mm-hmm.
and I do put a lot of effort on refining the writing, and I think that great actors are those who make someone else's text their own.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems that they improvise while the text is in fact exactly as it was written.
Mm-hmm.
But so I do like rehearsals. I do like to do a lot of rehearsals. But once everything is planned,
Mm-hmm.
and Of course, I really like to work with the actors and hear their opinions and their suggestions. And once everything is planned down to the smallest detail, then happy accidents, as you call them, are welcome. It's like I don't how do you say it? I don't plan to improvise. But when everything is planned, then you can then it's more open. Then you can be more open to new ideas that you come up with on set.
And were there any ideas that happened later on, like once you started shooting and seeing sort of the brilliance of Abigail's performance and the chemistry between her and Ron, did new ideas form then?
Well, first their dynamic and chemistry was really great, and I loved working with them. It's when I think about it, about what we were talking, so usually on set you have less time to do what you planned, and not like if you have new ideas, usually you don't have time to do them. And what makes you the need to improvise comes usually from the fact that you cannot do what you planned from different reasons, so that you improvise usually because you have a lack of time and lack of money, and from that things, sometimes great ideas come out from these situations.
Let's talk about some of the supporting characters in the film. So some of the crazy folks that they meet, both when they're together during the course of their night in Jerusalem, and when the part in the film where they separate and they meet people on their own. I want to start with her ex-boyfriend, because when I was watching their relationship unfold, and when it was more revealing to the audience what was really happening and what their history was, it was just so clever and brilliant, the way that this character came across and like what he said about her, the way he was behaving, what that said about her and her reaction to him. It was all very revealing without having that to be a part of the dialogue. So I wanted to know, how did you come up with that section of the film, and what did you hope that it would reveal about Abigail's character?
I wanted this character to be that when you meet this guy, you understand why did she go for the other guy, what was the thing, kind of life that she ran away from, and also what is the thing that she's missing in her current life. He represents this kind of dark loves, the passion in this kind of relationships. Relationship is comes from the lack of security, trust, because it's not a guy that you can really trust, and it's always he makes her feel sadness and surprise, and because she's not secured there, so it's very it's like a storm for her. This guy, that's the thing that she ran away from, that she's even saved herself from, but also the thing that she wishes to be in, this kind of stormy feelings. And
yeah, I think that they're very normal feelings to feel for a woman, because I think many women have experienced relationships that excited them and made them feel alive and made them feel like anything could happen, like this person is not the safe choice, they don't give me any security, but when I'm with them I feel very much like I'm discovering myself and I'm discovering life, like I don't have all the answers. They have this charm about them that they're always getting you to come back to their chaos and, you know, want more of it, right?
Yeah.
But they're also very harmful for you because they're not always the best relationship material. Sometimes they could be emotionally abusive. Sometimes they could take you for granted. And even though they provide this, you know, really important feeling for anybody to have, you know, that feeling of being alive and in love and carefree and hopeful, they also are negative because you start doubting yourself. Like you start feeling very confused by the way you're being treated, by what this relationship means for you, what it says about yourself. And so I think, like, when I watch that scene play out on screen, I think that he is a symbol of all those insecurities that she has. And sometimes to be around him, she can like put herself back together and understand she doesn't really want to be there. You know, she really wants to be in the life she's in, but it's hard to accept. Right? Is that kind of it?
Olivia, you described it so well.
I don't know. I think you described it very well with how you created that dynamic in that scene. But he was very funny, though. He was a good character, you know, for her to play off of, I think.
Well, he was great, and he's a great actor too. And I really identify with him also, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because he's ambitious and he puts his work first. He puts his art first, you know.
Yeah.
But it was just hilarious. Like on her wedding day, he's making her sit there and watch him edit and show us film. You know, I mean, that's just, it was just brilliant. I love that scene. But, you know, there's lots of scenes in the film that are like that through the course of their night, like her coming into contact with her students and at first feeling so cool. And then, you know, at the end, just being completely deflated, you know, and visually, like you're watching her walk down the street and like her dress just becomes, you know, more and more mangled and torn up. And, you know, as the night just like takes everything out of her. But I mean, the movie just had so many wonderful moments. So do you feel like when you saw what you put together, like, do you feel, you know, good about it, that it was like what you wanted to express?
Oh yeah, it was such it was a very long journey, and making this film. And like I said before, I started it as a short story that I wrote. It was years ago when I was still a student, and you know, when I at the beginning of the writing process, I identified, I think, more with the character of the bride.
Mm-hmm.
And then years went by, and I went back to the script to rewrite it. I found myself identifying more with the groom. So it was very interesting. You know, eventually, you know, I feel my heart is with you know, with both of the characters. When I casted Ran and Abigail, I thought they were great couple, and you know, their couple dynamic was special and powerful. And you know, when you see such a dynamic, it's not something that you can, you know, you can really imagine before you really see them together, and you see that it works, and they're such a, you know, specific couple. You know what I mean?
How much did these actors contribute to what we saw on screen? How much did they collaborate with you on their characters?
They really got into their characters. I think that even if they're not like that in the real life, they enjoyed being different, you know, in the movie than what they really are. And I'm sure, you know, and they definitely brought into you know, into this relationship, into their cinematic relationship, their own experience and personality. But the real dynamic of relationship is always something known only to the couple, you know. So, but I think that they really enjoyed doing those characters, and also if they are very different from them, I think it was very good and creative experience for them to do the film. That's
When you were talking, I thought of something that, you know, is very interesting, is that nobody really knows what a couple is like behind closed doors, you know, because when we meet our friends who are in a relationship and they're acting a certain way, the whole dynamic of who they are together is probably going to be very different when they're alone together. You know, all these different things come out. And so when you're making a film like this, it's interesting, all of the layers of nuance that you're thinking about. You know, who are they behind closed doors? Who are they in front of other people? You know, who are they when they're being themselves and when they're trying to be like their fantasy of themselves?
that's true.
Yeah. So, and I think you did a really great job at bringing all those layers, you know, organically into the scenes. What did you find most challenging and most rewarding about making this film?
The film, you know, the film takes place during one night, so it was a real challenge to maintain the feel of one specific night throughout, you know, all the, you know, the many nights during which it was filmed. Like for example, every night, you know, Abigail has to be, you know, turned into a bride, you know, with all the makeup and hair doing, and also, you know, she had to be in the specific stage and in the process of gradually becoming, you know, more tired, and with her dress and her makeup in a specific stage of becoming worn out, and the same goes for other actors. And so, you know, and also it was, you know, I can tell you it was a big challenge to film at night in Jerusalem, 8 months pregnant. So it was a big challenge for me.
Oh my
And
God, I can't imagine how you did that.
yeah, but it was, you know, it was you're full of adrenaline when you
Yeah.
do this. It was, and also I really like to work on on some projects together. You never get to do that, so it's nice that you know, I don't know how to say it in English. I'm sorry. I don't know,
No.
like things are going on. Like you're also pregnant and also making a film. It was hard, but it was really, you know, it was rewarding. And also I think filmmaking, you know, is the best job there is, because you get to see, you know, the creatures of your imagination become real, and you know, it's very rewarding.
Hmm. Was there something that you were considering putting in, but you thought it was just a little bit too risky or too revealing of yourself to put it in?
Characters that I wrote, and of course I'm very, you know, exposed in my fields with my, you know, thoughts and feelings, but I don't feel that I'm, you know, the thing that you reveal is usually not the thing that you think that you reveal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely
Reveal something
understand.
that you did not plan and that you cannot even see.
Yeah, yeah. I think what I was thinking about is situational more, like when you're trying to figure out like how far do you want the turmoil and the chaos of that night for that couple to go, like how bad do you want it to get, you know, before the end. You're kind of like searching your memory of all the, you know, horrible relationship situations that have ever happened in your life, like thinking, do I want to, you know, take something out of my own life and kind of manipulate it for this couple. And that's kind of what I was thinking, like, was there something where you just thought it was too much to put in the film?
No. I mean, I think it's like my obligation to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I owe the movie, the audience. You know, that's if I wouldn't be honest in my writing, and if I wouldn't, you know, be daring, then then there's no point in doing this. I don't believe in being careful in art. And it's like the entire movie is wondering about relationship and about marriage, and I know all people have fears or terrible thoughts about this kind of things. So
Yeah, it was a very endearing film because you can very much relate to what this couple is going through. It's very much about what everyone goes through when they're going to commit to one person for the rest of their life. And I do believe you wrote it in a very honest way, and that's why it to me it was successful, because you were brave enough to be honest with it. I felt that you were writing from the heart, and the comedy was very natural. So talk about your style, because the film has sort of this wistful dance section. I don't want to give too much away for somebody who hasn't seen it yet, but the dance section with the police officers, that's one scene that stands out for me. But talk about sort of the shifting of style from beginning to end.
At the beginning of the film, the film starts with a very long sequence in the hotel, and and um, and I thought of this part like as a short film on its own, and there's like different styles, from the movie is dealing a lot with the interior and exterior, like in the way the groom wishes to go to interiors all the time, and the bride pushes towards the exteriors. And so we shot it in different styles, the interiors and the exteriors. And also we kind of did like I don't know how to say it, like a homage to classic romantic comedies, like from the 40s and 50s, like from classic romantic comedies, when it's a little bit soft and blurry, and the hotel at the beginning, the way that the characters look, and the rooms, it's very it's soft and blurry and dreamy in the way. Even the things that the scenes there are not dreamy at all, but the looks is very like from it's very inspired by classic romantic comedies.
And I'm sure that you've noticed this, or maybe you did this on purpose, but HONEYMOOD, the first letter H, the last letter D, it's kind of like Hollywood. The H and the D, was that something purposeful, or absolutely like I'm weird for thinking that?
Oh, Olivia, it's your idea. I never thought about it. I just thought about honeymoon, and then I just came up with the HONEYMOOD. But yeah, I didn't think about it at all. It's a nice idea.
Yeah, because I figured that you were changing it from honeymoon, but then the D at the end just reminded me of sort of that homage to Hollywood, like the classic Hollywood love story. Yeah, so that.
Oh, that's great. I didn't think about it.
Well, if you like, you can steal it. I don't know why I thought of it, but. Have you shown this film in Israel or at other international film festivals? And what has the reaction been like?
Well, actually, the film was supposed to premiere in Tribeca Film Festival in New York, and then come out in Israel. And it all got held back because of the pandemic. So Israeli audience has not seen it yet, and I really look forward to it very much. And we plan to premiere it in Israel once the theaters are back. And in the meantime, so it will, hopefully it will be next year in Tribeca. And in the meantime, it's it was in the BFI, the British Film Festival, and I really look forward to release it.
I think people are gonna love it. I really do.
I hope so.
It's light, but it has enough bite, enough darkness where it's still very complex and compelling. So it's a very perfect combination for a film you'd want to see in 2020, I think.
I can't wait for for our life to come back, for the theaters to be open again. I really can't wait, for it to happen, as probably many people are.
Definitely people miss the theaters, but they just reopened in Philadelphia, and even though they're reopened, I just don't think many people are emotionally ready to handle going back to the theater as much as they want to be there. So
Yeah.
which is very sad. Hopefully by the end of next year. Are you currently working on a new you said you were shooting earlier.
Yeah, I'm filming a series for a hot TV channel in Israel, and it's a comedy taking place in Tel Aviv.
Oh, cool. And is it are you allowed to give any other information?
Well, the only information I can give you that in 5 hours I had to get up and continue filming it.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that fair enough. And the film that back when I saw you, I don't remember what year, but a few years back, you were working on this film about an American musician in the Orthodox community in New York. Is that still happening, or is it on hold?
I'm still working. It was a little bit on hold, but because I made this film, and but I'm still working on it, and it's still a project that I really want to continue, working on.
Well, it sounded like it was going to be very interesting, so I hope it comes back from the on hold shelf.
Me too.
So my last question is, can you talk about being an artist and a mother and how these two parts of yourself function together and inform your work?
Well, being a director is surely not a classical mom's job. And I was, like I told you, I was 8 months pregnant when I filmed Honeymoon. And I did the editing during my daughter's first year. So she basically grew up in, editing rooms and sound, how do you call this? Sound studio. Yeah, in sound studio. And now I'm filming again. And she's already been a witness to the entire cycle of filmmaking. But she's not 2 years old. So I guess I'm not yet qualified to comment on how to combine motherhood and art. So hopefully I'll have answers for this, when she...
Maybe one day she'll follow in your footsteps and work in the film world. Talya, when we first heard that HONEYMOOD was screening at Tribeca, we were beyond excited. A new Talya Lavie film. We were so sure that HONEYMOOD would deliver, and it did. It was truly the perfect film to watch amid such a disaster of a year called 2020, and I do mean that in the best of all possible ways. It's really been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing HONEYMOOD with our festival, and I wish you the greatest success with the film and your future projects.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you so much for having me.